Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is AFREEN binti AYUB. Today I'm gonna present about what the interview all about. For our group assignment, we conducted an interview with one Dayang Jamila, an English teacher from SMK Benoni Papar, Sabah, who has over 30 years of teaching experience. The interview mainly focuses on classroom-based assessment or CBA and how it compares with school-based assessment or SBA. The purpose of this interview is to understand how both assessments are applied in schools, their differences, effectiveness, and challenges faced by teachers. We also explored how this assessment influenced students' learning, motivation, and overall academic performance. Throughout the teacher's experience, we were able to see how CBA provides more flexibility, continuous feedback, and support students' holistic development compared to the more standardized SBA. Overall, this interview helps us gain real insights into how the transition from SBA to CBA has improved teaching methods and created a more meaningful learning environment for students. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is NATASA binti SAFUANANI. So today I will present about Introduction to Classroom-Based Assessment (CBA) and School-Based Assessment (SBA). So classroom-based assessment (CBA) and school-based assessment (SBA) are important part for education system. They focus on continuous and fair evaluation of student learning. Instead of depend on traditional exam, their assessment measures student knowledge, skills, and value gained during the learning process. These assessments are carried out by teachers as a part of teaching and learning process. Teachers collect evidence of student progress through activities like observation, project, presentation, write tasks, and practical works. This helps students learn meaningful and understand their strengths and weaknesses. CBA and SBA help promote student intellectual, emotional, moral, and physical growth. Teachers can use this test to evaluate their student progress and provide supportive feedback. All this consider CBA and SBA establish a reasonable and fair system that helps students for challenge they may face in the real world. Objective of the interview: Number 1, to understand how classroom-based assessment CBA and school-based assessment SBA are implemented in school. Number 2, to identify teacher experience and challenge in carrying out the assessment. Number 3, to explore the method and strategy used by teacher in evaluate student. Number 4, to gather opinion and suggestion for improving the assessment process. Number 5, to examine how CBA and SBA support student overall learning and development.
And good evening, madam. So my name is DAYANGKU AYUNI. I am from Unicon International University, and today purpose I meet with you is to do an interview about CBA, which is classroom-based assessment, and SBA, school-based assessment, which related to our assignment task. Right. So thank you so much for agreeing to have this short interview session with me. I really appreciate your time, and for this interview session, we will talk about the classroom-based assessment, or known as a CBA, and as a school-based assessment, which is SBA. So before we start, could you please introduce yourselves?
Good evening. Sure. My name is Madam Dayang Jamila, and I'm currently teaching English at SMK Benoni Papar, a secondary school here in Sabah. I've been teaching English for around 30 years, and throughout my career, I've experienced different forms of assessment, including the transition of school-based assessment, SBA, or familiarly known as UASA, to classroom-based assessment, CBA.
Alright, thank you, teacher. So let's begin our interview session with the first question. Can you share what is classroom-based assessment, or known as CBA, means to you as a teacher?
For me, classroom-based assessment means assessing students as part of their learning journey, not just at the end of it. It is observing, guiding, motivating and supporting students' progress through continuous feedback rather than depending only on examinations. In English subject, for instance, I often assess my students throughout speaking, listening, group discussion and writing task activities. I look at how they apply grammar, express the ideas, how they interact among themselves in group, how they elaborate the ideas, okay, naturally, in English especially. So for me, classroom-based assessment is more to student-centered, that allows me to see students' strengths and weaknesses in real learning situation instead of just to see their test results.
Alright, that's very interesting. So for the next question, how is classroom-based assessment, CBA, different from school-based assessment, or you say known as UASA?
Okay, for school-based assessment, we introduced earlier as part of the national assessment system. It was still based on specific standardized tasks that all schools has to complete and report to the ministry. On the other hand, CBA gives more flexibility to teachers. It focuses on formative assessments, meaning I can design a task according to my students' abilities, needs and classroom context. For instance, under school-based assessment, I had to follow a fixed rubric for essay writing that was quite rigid. But now, under classroom-based assessment, I can create my own criteria like fluency, creativity, and organization that match my students' level. So the other difference is school-based assessment more standardized and report-based, while classroom-based assessment is more flexible, ongoing, and learning-focused.
Oh, I see. All right, thank you, madam. So for the next question, how do you apply classroom-based assessment effectively in your classroom, especially?
Okay, for me, I apply classroom-based assessment effectively. I will start with clear learning objectives and make sure students understand they are supposed to learn and why they need to learn that. Then I design interactive activities that allow them to show what they've learned. For instance, for listening and speaking, I usually implement a role-play activity in my classroom where students act out real-life situations like ordering food or interviewing someone. For writing, I ask them to write short reflective journals after a lesson or movie review. For reading, I use group reading sessions where they summarize and share ideas. Sometimes I do role-play. Meanwhile, during these activities, I use a rubric checklist to observe each student in terms of their confidence, pronunciations, grammar, creativity, and their fluency. At the end, I always provide constructive feedback verbally or in writing. This helps students know exactly how to improve, how their learning progress, and how they can improve their learning strategies in future, which is type of classroom-based assessment.
That's very great. That sounds is very engaging process. So now, madam, what are some challenges that you faced when using CBA compared to SBA?
Okay, based on my 30 years teaching experiences, of course, there are quite few challenges to implement both assessment, honestly. First, time management, because classroom-based assessment requires continuous observation and guidance, which takes a lot of time to record each student's progress, and sometimes this inconsistent progress recorded for the students because we're quite disturbed by all Iranian's work. Secondly, large class size. I have classes with more than 20 students, so giving detailed feedback to everyone can be overwhelming and stressful since I need to cover each of students, which is in a total 159 students. It's quite stressful to me. Plus, I need to understand and identify each of students' level and their level of proficiency. Thirdly, there's an issue of consistency and subjectivity. Since the classroom-based assessment gives flexibility, one teacher's good might not be the same one as another's. That's why moderation among teachers is important to ensure fairness. Also, the documentation workload can be heavy. This is the most problem faced by almost teachers in the world. Yes. We have to keep students' work samples, rubrics, photos, and sometimes even videos evidence for verification.
I see.
Which is quite take a lot of times and wasting a lot of energies to settle down to key in the mostly a lot of links.
Oh, I see. It's still, documentation is still valid in 2025 since, as we know, the technology is very advanced day by day. So did you, in your school, did you still make the documentation physically, print out all the
Yes, we need to have that because when the jabatan or our KPM comes, they also want to check the hardwork, hardwork copy. They just simply check from a soft copy, but we need also to give them as a observation for their hard copy documentation.
I see. Wow, the sounds is challenging indeed. So, next, madam, how do these two types of assessment affect students' motivation and holistic academic performance?
Okay, that's a very meaningful question. From what I've observed, classroom-based assessment tends to make students more motivated and less anxious. In school-based assessment or exam-based systems, students actually usually study just to get marks nowadays. But with classroom-based assessment, they know every activity counts, so they try to engage more during lessons. They're able to, they're interested. They enjoy to participate in every each activities delivered by teachers. For instance, I had one student who was quickly shy and rarely spoke in class, but when I started giving continuous speaking tasks like short daily sharing sessions, and she slowly gained confidence. By the end of the semester, she could lead group discussions comfortably. Classroom-based assessment also support holistic development. It's not only about grades, but also about communication, critical thinking, and teamwork. School-based assessment was more formal and academic, while classroom-based assessment is more human and developmental. However, some students still prefer exams because they want clear benchmark. That's why balance is important, to have continuous assessment, school-based assessment, plus some summative tests like UASA.
That's a great point. So, finally, madam, based on your teaching experience, which assessment system would you prefer, either CBA or SBA, and why?
Okay, personally, I prefer classroom-based assessment. Even though it's more time-consuming, it gives me freedom to teach according to my students' needs. I can adapt to their activities, modify tasks, and give feedback that truly helps them grow. Also, I align with my teaching philosophy that I believe that learning is a process, not a product. However, I also think school-based assessment had its strength, especially in terms of consistency and national benchmarking. Ideally, Malaysia could combine both approaches, use classroom-based assessment for continuous learning and formative feedback, use school-based assessment for UASA for standardized end-of-year evaluation. This balance ensures we assess not only what students know, but also how they grow.
Alright, so thank you very much, madam, for such a detailed and meaningful answers. I've learned a lot from your thought insight about CBA and SBA. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your session today.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I'm glad to help. I think it's wonderful that future educators like you are learning about assessment deeply, because how we assess our students today will shape how they're going to be tomorrow. Thank you so much.
For this interview, the question were designed and asked is to explore the teacher's understanding and experience with both school assessment SBA and classroom-based assessment CBA. So each question has their own purpose and helps to connect the theory of this assignment task with the real classroom practices. So as the first question, the meaning of CBA, classroom-based assessment, these questions were asked to understand how the teachers define the assessment in their own in teaching context. It's very relevant to classroom-based assessment because it's more focusing on students' learning progress and feedback. Unlike SBA, school-based assessment, that it's more focusing on examination-oriented and report-based. The second question we're asked is to compare the classroom-based assessment and school-based assessment, which this help to see how assessment in Malaysia has changed from being standardized to be more flexible and student-centered. The next question is all about how classroom-based assessment CBA is applied in the classroom, which this point is very important to highlight because here we can know the real context and how the teacher actually applied in their daily lessons. As the teachers that we interviewed with, she explained how the CBA was going in her subject, which is English language, through speaking, writing, and group activities. So this showed that classroom-based assessment is not just about marks, but about guiding students improving. The question on challenges was asked because it gives a real picture of what problem that teacher have faced, like large class size, time management, and workload. That it's relevant to understand that while CBA is a meaningful assessment to be implemented in the learning and teaching session, but it also requires a strong efforts and details planning before we implemented it in the classroom. It's all about to make sure that everything going smooth, the objective were met, and everything was doing well. Finally, the question about which system that she prefer help us to know about her personal evaluation, and based on her answer, we can know, and she give us the clear picture that both SBA and CBA are more important if balanced well. So it connect directly to the idea that assessment should be measure both result and growth. So in overall, this question help us to understand how assessment methods affect both teaching and learning, and why CBA is now seen as a more holistic approach compared to SBA. That's all from me.
Hi, I'm Siti SHAFIQAH. I will present the interview outcome and conclusion. Based on the interview, I would like to list a few differences between CBA and SBA. CBA implement formative assessment so that students can receive ongoing feedback and support of learning process from teacher. Other than that, teacher also will be more flexible to arrange the study method. SBA is more summative, like standardized, for example, using fixed rubrics, which means it more focused on academic benchmark. CBA will implement an activities and skill assessed by using these few methods like role-playing, journal writing, or group discussion. And SBA will using rubrics to assess student skills, fluency, creativity, and grammar. This is the challenge that teacher face in CBA. For example, teacher will have very limited time for planning study method and do assessment because teacher will have to manage a large classes. And also, teacher will grading inconsistently and having a heavy documentation workload. Lastly, CBA impact on student. It can help reduce student exam-related anxiety, boost student motivation, encourage their holistic growth like good communication skill and critical thinking. In conclusion, both CBA and SBA have their own strengths. CBA is more meaningful and based on student personalized learning. SBA is a clear academic standardization. By combining discontinuous CBA with standardized SBA or UASA, it will advocate a balanced academic performance and holistic development for students. This effective assessment is the key to improving learning and building a quality society.